understanding 6-8. I'm going to actually go through it with you right now, so it would be helpful if you have a piece of paper and a pencil in front of you, and then after you watch this, if you want to just go and plug your answers into the Google slide, that is one assignment that you will have done. If you have any questions about any of the things that I'm doing, please make sure you ask, because I want you to make sure you really understand the content and not just putting in the answers that I'm going over. I'm gonna start with the top, which I already have written out. It says equivalent expressions have the same value. If both the dividend and divisor are multiplied by the same power of 10, the result is a division problem with the same quotient as the first problem. So to find 2.4 divided by 0.6, multiply the dividend and divisor by the same power of 10. So what they're basically telling us here, long explanation, but they're telling us that if we take this number model, the original problem is 2 4/10, 2.4, divided by 6/10, 0.6. And they're saying if I take that and I multiply it by the same power of 10, so it has to be a number like 10, 100, 1,000, and so on, then I can do the division without the decimals. So they're telling me up in the top number model there that if I multiply both parts, so the first part and the second part, by 10, and I have to have the same number on both sides, I'm going to end up with a number model minus the decimal. So I know that 2.4 times 10 is one piece, and then my 0.6 times 10 is going to be the other piece. So basically what I'm doing is when I have 2.4 and I multiply it by 10, I don't need to list out all the work. All I need to know is if it's a power of 10, it's going to move my decimal point one place over for 10, two places over for 100, three places over for 1,000. And then you just need to think and remember about which way it's moving. So I know if I'm multiplying by 10, my number is actually going to get larger. So if I have 2.4 and I'm multiplying by 10, I'm going to take that decimal point and move it one place to the right, and I end up getting 24. So whole number 24. That's going to be my dividend. That's the number that I'm starting with for this problem. The same thing's going to happen over here. So I have 0.6, 6/10. I multiply it by 10. I move one place over. Same thing, same direction. And I end up with 6. So that problem that I started with that had the decimals in it, now it's the same exact problem, but I've removed the decimals because I did the same thing to both sides. So now when I look at it, it's just 24 divided by 6, which we all can do mentally. 24 divided by 6 is 4. If I wanted to actually do the problem with the decimals included there, it's just going to be 2.4 divided by 0.6. I need to move my decimal over because I want a whole number in my divisor. So I would move one place here. I do the same thing to my dividend, one place here. And then what happens is I end up with the same, and I don't need that 0 now, I end up with the same problem that I just had by doing times 10. So it's another way that I can do my division without having to worry about the decimals in there. The key, though, that you have to remember is if you're doing times 10, you have to do times 10 on both the dividend and the divisor. You can't do times 10 on one and times 100 on the other one. Okay, so that was the number one equivalent part. We're going to jump down to number 2. And on number 2, they don't want an exact answer. All they want is to know where the answer would fall between. So it says gasoline at the station near Freddie's house is $3.25 per gallon. Freddie paid $49.40 for gas. They want to know how many gallons did he buy. Estimate the quotient, so we only want an estimate, using multiplication and number sense. So they did this for us. They said 1 times 325 we know is 325. Okay, so that part, easy enough because I'm multiplying by 1. So I know that he most likely did not buy 1 gallon of gas because he spent $49.40 and this was only $3.25. So the next thing they did for us was they said, if he buys 10 gallons of gas at $3.25, what is that going to cost? So again, I'm multiplying by 10. My decimal's moving one place over. So if he buys 10 gallons, he's going to end up spending $32.50. Okay, so again, it's just a matter of moving the decimal. Now remember that magic number was $49.40. So far we're up to 32. So I know that it's not logical to go up to 100 because 100 is going to bring me way over that 49.40. So the next thing that they did was they said, what if I do 20 times 325? So all I'm doing now is 2 times 325. So I'm doubling 325. So I'm at 650. 3 doubled is 6, 25 cents doubles is 50. And then because I'm doing a power here that I'm only doing 1 0, I had 1 0 here. I'm going to still move it the same number of places that I moved this one. So my decimal was here. I'm moving it one place over, right? So it's going to go there, which would mean I just need to, because we're talking about money, I just need to add a 0 there. So if he buys 20 gallons of gas, it's going to cost him $65. Now, they put in for us the arrow, and the arrow says, I'll put it this way, it said his $49.40 falls between those two numbers. So on the last line, Freddie bought between blank and blank gallons of gas. Remember, we're just doing an estimate. So I know that he couldn't have bought just one because that was way too small. I know he needed to have bought between 10 and 20 gallons because 10 is too small, 32. 20 was too high, 65. But that 49.40 sits right in the middle. So he bought somewhere between 10 and 20. More than 10, less than 20. Okay, so again, they're not looking for an exact answer for that. They just wanted that range. Okay, moving on to number 3. For number 3, they said, by what power of 10 should the divisor and the dividend be multiplied by to make an expression equivalent to 49.40 divided by 3.25? So the same as we did up there, what would I multiply my dividend and my divisor by so that I can get rid of the decimal? So if you remember up there, we had one place after the whole number, after the decimal. On this one, I have 2 places, and on this one, I have 2 places. So if I were to multiply by just 10, all it would do is it would move my decimal after the 4, which would be fine for this number because I know I can drop the 0 and then have whole number 494. But on this side, it's not going to get me a whole number. So what I can do instead is I'm going to multiply by 100, which will bring my decimal there and give me 4,940. And on this one, it's going to bring my decimal there for 325. So on each of them, I'm going to multiply by 100, or we can also write 100 as 10 to the second power. So for number 3, you can have either of those answers, 100 or 10 to the second power. So once I do that, my new problem, and again, they are not looking for me to actually solve it, but my new problem would be 4,940 divided by 325. You still would have to go through and do the division, but now I have eliminated the decimals. Okay. So moving on to number 4, they want us to multiply the dividend and divisor by the same power of 10 and write an equivalent expression for 49.40 3940 divided by 3.25. So now that we said what we were going to multiply, now they want us to actually solve it. So what we just did on the top, 3.25, we said we were multiplying by 100 or 10 to the second power, is going to give us, remember, 2 places over, 325. For the next one are 4940, again, times 100 or 10 to the second power. 2 places over is giving us 4,940. And then our last line is going to be the actual problem without the decimals. So 4,940 divided by 325 equals X. They didn't ask us for that, but then they did ask us to, on the side, solve the problem. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to actually solve it out. So we have and they gave you the boxes to fill in. All I'm looking for you to do on the Google slide is to actually put the final answer. So 325, I know nothing works for 4 and 9. I know that I can do 1 325 in there. I need to make a trade. 9 becomes 8, 4 becomes 14, 14 minus 5 is 9, 8 minus 2 is 6, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So my first set of boxes they gave you, I should have a 1, which they already gave you, 325 and 169, but then we know we have to bring that down. So I'm at 1,690. Again, my divisor is 325, so I'm thinking about how many 325s fit into 1690. So I know that 3 times 5 is 15, and I know 3 times 6 is 18. So 18 would be too high, so I'm going to try on the side 325 times 5 and see if that gives me an exact. So I have 5 times 5 is 25, 10 and 2 is 12, 5 and 3 is 15, and 1 is 16. It's not exact, but it's close, and it's as close as I'm going to get. So I'm going to put my 5 up here. I'm going to do 1625. I need to make a trade, so I'm going to do 9 becomes 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. That's a 10. So I'm at 65 so far as my remainder. Now, being a decimal problem, they don't want me to just say remainder 65. Remember, when I do my decimals in my division, I'm going to add a decimal, add a 0. So now I have 650, and now I can continue with my division. So I'm thinking about how many 325s fit into 650, and by looking at it I can tell that if I just double it, so times 2, I know that 3 doubled is 6, 25 doubled is 50. That's going to give me an exact answer. So my final answer is going to be 15.2. That was for number 4. Okay, and then finally for 5 and 6, they just want us to actually solve the problems. So what you can do for 5 and 6, I want you to try those on your own, and you can just put your final answer, the final answer is number 5, what we just did. Number 6, you can do yourself on another sheet of paper and just put your final answer in. So again, number 5's was continuation of number 4, and then you're going to do number 6. That is the entire Reteach to Build Understanding 6-8. Again, if you have any questions, please make sure you ask. Just want to make sure that you are really understanding how this kind of helps and speeds up when we're doing division with decimals. Have a good day. If you have any questions, please ask.